That's what we're saying right now. If parents could get more involved with kids and they grow up having more passion for all this kind of good, there would be a great change. I will back to our statement. We have a very strong psychological effect to why we are having this economical problem. Every market problem doesn't rely on economic itself because it have a very high percentage that deal with psychological effect. If there is more relationship and upbringing of children and adults getting involved with all these kinds of right from childhood, they tend to like have more interest in all this kind of good. So I would say that, do you think that with this, do you think there is a more correlation that if there is more if there is more relationship with family and kid and introducing them with this kind of good,
Thank you.
would they have more interest in all these ads?
Thank you. Oh, okay. But the question should be shorter, please. And more to the point. Yes, who is going to answer?
That's an excellent question, an excellent point, and I think what's important to know, as I said before, that children are the future. So when we think about it, the lack of exposure, not only in terms of the TV being isolated and alienated, but we think about going to the gallery. I mean, is this the first time for you all to visit the gallery? I'm not, just wink your eye at me or something. But if it is, then great, you're here. But when you think about children, I grew up in a home where lived right there in College Park and we were next to DC. My parents took us to DC every weekend, saw every museum, saw plays throughout. But on a psychological level, if you don't have the money, and when I say money, I'm literally meaning for the train ride, or when you think of something that's very important, the family really has to prioritize. I agree with you, it's very important to be able to do that, but in the community, there are community public houses, there are places for children to get exposure. One of the issues that I thought that we should bring up also is that when we look at art in high school, in elementary school, these programs are being cut significantly. And that's where I learned a lot, and I love art, so whenever you call me to do these, I just love the connection. But to me, it's more than that. It looks at to the point with children who do not get the exposure. How do we do that? Yes, the parents, family, but then we need to look at the schools. We need to support the schools in taking our children to the museums, Baltimore especially, to learn more about the arts. And as long as they stay alienated and isolated into the computer, into their rooms, we're going to have a significant problem on our hand. And I wanted to say that last year, part of my psychology and African American class, we saw an exhibit on slavery. And some of the students said they had never seen an art exhibit before. And I thought it was wonderful for them to have this experience at a college level, but I would like to see some of these events happening at children who are very early in that.
Thank you, Dawn.
I just have a really quick comment. We've been talking a lot about the internet, and I wanted to just mention, we live in an area that has so many, I forgot the word, non-traditional venues, and the internet is such a huge part of that. Artomatic is coming up, that's enormous. There's, a really thriving art blog culture in our area, so that's a way for you guys to get out and support some of the more experimental local arts, and it's also a great way to build up your resumes, which is one of those things that's going to help you get jobs after school. And a lot of these venues they're artist run, they're cheap or free, and they're everywhere, so that's a great way to get involved.
Thank you. Last question.
Good morning. Since art is a way of expressing emotions, but it's not only that, it's also a way of making a statement. And in that way, many artists from different disciplines have influences over the society. For example, we had the feminism movement in painting, and also Keith Haring, he made statement about hate. If we don't have money to make the art available for the public, wouldn't that modify the behavior and the way of thinking of the generation to come?
Thank you. Only 3 minutes for the answer.
I want to say something about that, and the last question too. We are becoming a global society. We hear that all the time. We're all attached to one another because of this wonderful information highway that we have now. And yet there's something very isolating about that. When you're sitting in your room and you're watching a movie alone, you're not participating with your peers or other people, for that matter, who may be experiencing the same thing. I know in a class that we teach called Integrated Arts, we insist that our students will see a professional performance, they'll go to a museum, and they'll also see a theater production live with the audience. And there is a vast difference. In that course, we show them films, we show them operas, I show them digitals of great paintings. But I can tell you now, there is nothing in this world that compares to sitting in that theater, looking face to face with the original art, or hearing a piece of music with all the people around you who are sharing that moment. So it's something to think about. It's good to have the private time, but it's extraordinary to have the public time and share it. I think it's something I wanted to be sure I said today before we left each other.
I think that's a very good statement, Barbara. I would join you with applause. I want to thank you all. Thank you for coming to our panel discussion, and hope to see you next semester in the next panel. Bye. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wonderful. You do a great job every year. Every year.